For 10, 20, 50,000 years, nobody knows quite how long, men and dogs have been in partnership. It's man's oldest animal association. Man found the dog to be a perfect partner, first of all because its sense of smell is at least 200 times better than his own. A dog can catch the scent of another animal in the wind over at least half a mile of countryside. It can follow another creature by picking up the foot scent on the crushed vegetation. Secondly, the dog had great courage. Even a small dog will tackle an animal 20 times its size. And the dog, which remained on 4 legs while humans clambered upright, ran at least twice as fast as a man. So for thousands of years, humans and dogs have been in a working and hunting partnership. Nowadays, of course, they're usually just good friends. Well, if that's why men joined dogs, why did dogs join men? The answer is that the dog is a pack animal. He doesn't naturally do his own thing. He likes to live in an organized society and obey the rules of the pack. Now for him, the human family is a pack. He joins it, goes along with its rules, and likes to obey them, because a dog is uneasy without leadership. Look at these foxhounds, 30 of them in a pack, and they're all content to obey the kennel huntsman, because he is the pack leader. And after him, among the hounds themselves, the old grizzle-coated Welsh hound, Medic. Let's see what happens when he calls them. However fast they come, Medic comes first. Watch again. It will happen every time. No other hound will move ahead of Medic's shoulder. He's an old dog now, and there are many young hounds in the pack who could beat him in a fight. But they still accept his seniority. He's number 2 after the huntsman. This order of precedence and this social acceptance is the secret of dogs' life, and it's the secret of dogs' association with man. Dogs don't understand human life, but they'll go along with its rules once they've grasped them. But a dog is only a man's dog as long as he's under man's influence. A family dog that wanders a little way from home will usually turn back quickly and look for his people, unless he meets another dog. Then he soon feels himself in common companionship. And as they begin to trot along, he gets the sensation of a pack on the move. And this is one of the dog's greatest pleasures. It's why he likes going for walks with people. The dog has no human sense of right and wrong. He just has a sense of social guilt. As long as he's doing what the whole pack has decided to do, then he feels cheerful and at peace. Watch dogs moving in a pack. You'll realize that they're not substitute babies or little human beings with hair all over them, or imitation brothers and sisters. They're pack animals, just as they were when men first met them. People who don't see dogs as animals can sometimes be terribly shocked by what nice household pets will do when they're out of range of men's control and leadership. Each of these dogs is just doing what the pack is doing. They have no idea that they're doing wrong. And they're away from the scene that man has set for their behavior. So to keep dogs, you have a duty to understand dogs, rather than to expect them to understand you. When you look at it that way, every minute you spend with a dog can be fascinating. If you watch the ritual greeting procedures between two strange dogs, you'll realize that they're designed to allow two animals from two different packs to meet and come to terms without fighting or violence. It's almost like the courtship of birds. And what a pity we don't have just as successful ceremonies for the same purpose. If you pass a dog sitting in a place he knows without disturbing him, he'll ignore you. But if you disturb him, then his instinct will make it compulsory for him to defend his territory. Which is why you shouldn't behave in that way. That was a silly thing to do, wasn't it, Bess? Now, although dogs all still have their animal natures, we, with our selective breeding over the centuries, have changed the size of them and the appearance and even the nature of them, usually for particular purposes. Take my two, for example. They both come from one single root stock of dogs, which came up through Spain to the rest of Europe. But look at them now. Daisy is a spaniel. In her, the hunting and scenting instinct has been exaggerated to an extraordinary degree to make her a dog for hunting up game. Bess is a retriever, and in her, the parent's instinct for carrying food home to the young has been developed to be used for man's purposes. So they're two different workers. And for all the thousands of years of man's association with dogs, 95% of dogs were workers. 95% of dogs had jobs. It's only in the very last moment of the long association that things have begun to change. Just about 100 years ago, Britain held its first dog show. And as a result of the century of the dog fancy, the situation is now entirely reversed. Now, 95% of dogs don't have jobs. They're either fashion goods or they're family friends. But every one of them still has some trace of the instincts that were built into it for the job it did. So when we keep dogs, we have to make sure that we can give them the interest and exercise they need as a result of their inheritance. Take the Afghan hound, for instance, this lovely creature. His greatest joy is to run and run and run, because he's a hunting dog. A gazelle hound, he's used to galloping ahead of sheiks, mounted on their fast Arab ponies. This Afghan is owned by a lady who lives in the country, and her greatest joy is to give him a regular chance to run. Because he lived in the cold foothills of the Himalayas, the Afghan wears an overcoat, whereas his cousin, the Slugi, doesn't wear an overcoat, because he does the same job down in the heat of the desert. It's sad to keep an Afghan just for elegance and never give it a chance to run with all its heart. In the sheepdogs, particularly the border collie, certain aspects of the hunting instinct have been exaggerated for the use of man, the herdsman. The stalking, the rounding up, the driving, compelling eye. While sheep nowadays can be kept in wire fences, it's doubtful if on the mountains and the wide sheep runs throughout history, man would ever have been able to farm sheep without the use of these dogs. They bring the instinct to herd and drive something right into the life of the human family, so that sometimes they seem to people to be behaving quite queerly. I know men who still have working terriers, the pest officer and gamekeeper. The work for which these dogs were developed lies underground. That's why they're called terriers, earth dogs. They had to be tiny enough to go down holes, and also to have the hearts of little lions, in order that they could go down into the darkness alone, face wild animals sometimes bigger than themselves, badgers, foxes, rats. Their courage is incredible. Their energy is inexhaustible. I used to take a terrier out with my 2 dogs, who were quite fit, throughout a long day in the country, and when at the end of the day they were both just about done for, he couldn't understand why anybody ever wanted to go home. Over and over again, the terrier will go down into battle alone, and they've been known to sit below, holding an animal at bay for 2 or 3 days, keeping up their bark at intervals to tell people where they are. Luckily, nobody persecutes badgers nowadays, but terriers are still needed in places where foxes are a serious pest. Nobody at home today, apparently. Most terriers, of course, are now family dogs, and there's no more cheerful and entertaining friend, but their great hearts sit sadly in confined places unless they're given frequent opportunities for boisterous behavior. The spaniel's work is to drive game, rabbits, pheasants, woodcock, out of the most dense and prickly cover. It's amazing what barriers they'll face and how long they'll keep it up, what thorns and briars they'll go through in pursuit of a hot scent. For protection, they grow great quantities of long, strong hair. This is what Daisy looks like at the beginning of the season. But at the end of several months of work, she'll look much slimmer and stripped out, altogether different. But she won't be cut. Spaniels who are no longer given this job to do, which of course is the majority, are in constant need of grooming and the attentions of the stripper. So we recognize that dogs are animals and try to understand them as animals. And we realize that different breeds of dogs were developed for different purposes and therefore they have different needs. And we try to take this into account when we're choosing a dog for our own household. It isn't an easy problem and you need to acquire knowledge if you're going to solve it. As a matter of fact, there is now a dog selection service, a selector dog service, which will go into this question of which is the right dog for you, with you. But apart from different breeds, different dogs themselves are just as different human beings. And different dogs get on with different people. So there is the final problem of choosing one particular dog. Let's watch it happening. We went with a family who'd chosen, wisely I think in their case, to get a Labrador puppy. They had the advantage they were able to take with them an expert, Mr. John Holmes, whose life is dogs. First of all, he wanted to meet the bitch, because the temperament of the mother, whether she's bold or nervous or friendly or standoffish, matters very much. And he was satisfied with this one. Now to look at the whole litter and spend some time with them. It's a lovely sight. A whole litter of puppies just old enough to start their individual lives. But what on earth do you look for? Well, if you watch them, you'll discover which are the bold and bossy ones, which is the top dog, what the shepherds call a hard dog. He's likely to be difficult to manage because he'll think he's the pack leader, and he'll need a strong-minded human to control him. And which are the retiring ones that give way to the others, and might turn out to be a bit nervous and backward. John Holmes, who chooses dogs for the guide dogs and for the police and for the army, is judging not just the puppies, but also the family. And this is what you have to learn to do, to make up your own mind what sort of people you are for what sort of dog. He's trying to decide just how bold a puppy will have to be in order to stand up to Rachel and her brother, and just how strong Mother is likely to be with a tough little dog, and he's wondering whether they ought to have a dog or a bitch. This is a big argumentative question, because it depends very much on different people which suits them. He's watching which of them have a friendly trust of human company and come back for more. My father used to say, sit there long enough until you find out which puppy's choosing you. And in the end, he's decided on those puppies that this family would be too much for, and which of the puppies will be too much for them. And out of a judgment of the rest, with his help, they've chosen little Tansy. Others in the litter might have been better for other families. I'm tempted to think what the mother would think of this choice, but it's made. And now the breeder, who really has given them the fullest opportunity, gives them first of all the pedigree, and then the diet sheet, because this is the first puppy they've had, and then the first vaccination certificate against distemper and hard pad. And not all breeders do this. We always give puppies their first injection before we sell them at our house. And I think it's a good thing, because it means that the process is started and the family will remember to get hold of their vet and arrange for the rest of the injections. So we trust they get off to a good start, because this is a big moment for the family. But it's also the most serious moment of all in the life of little Tansy. She's leaving the natural dog pack and joining the human family, whose life she will have to lead and whose rules she's going to have to live by. But this isn't a big dog joining another pack, it's a little baby leaving home for the first time. It's going to be scared, and it's going to feel insecure, it's going to know nothing about its surroundings, and it's going to need consideration. The pen's a good idea to keep it from under everyone's feet and away from the better carpets until it's domesticated. The little bed will soon become a refuge. She'll go there when there's too much happening all round. The cat's another kind of stranger, so that must be a careful and controlled introduction. Tansy's still a puppy, so she'll need to be fed little and often during the day. Not like a grown dog that can get its meal all over at once. Although the diet sheet was a good idea, there are now canned baby puppy foods, just like the big dog foods, that have got everything in them, down to the vitamins. And that makes it a lot easier to get it right. Cleanliness training comes with care and persistence, if she comes from a clean home, which little Tansy did. Rachel will take her out every time her stomach's full and pressing on her little bladder. And then it will come naturally. And quite soon, training will start in the rules and customs of the human pack.
Come on then, Tansy, come on. Come on then, come on.
Training's a big subject, and it should be dealt with on its own, but it's based on a few simplicities. Look, 6 months later.
Sit.
She'll sit.
Stay.
She'll stay.
Come.
She'll come when she's called. She's quite familiar with the cat now.
Tansy, come. Sit.
And she will walk to heel. And with these you can build every other kind of training.
Good girl.
On that basis, you can teach a dog not to be a nuisance when human beings are sitting at the table, and I think that's important because some dogs in some people's houses can spoil your dinner. You can teach a dog never to jump out of the car as soon as the door's opened, but to wait until it's told. I've seen 2 dogs killed because they didn't know that one. And you can teach the drop-on recall, which is often the key to an emergency. Look, Rachel sees the car.
Stay.
Tansy stops when she's told, and the whole thing ends without disaster. I think they both deserve congratulations. It seems to me they formed a very good partnership. So you see, dog ownership is a matter to be taken seriously. Now, you'll excuse me if I'm opening tins, because I can't keep these two waiting when it's their time, can I? Well, that was an awful lot in a short time, and there's a good deal more to be said about every bit of it. But let's see what the points were. First, we've realized that dogs are animals, and that we must try to understand them as animals. Second, we understand that the various breeds of dogs were designed for hard-working, energetic, and we know we have to try and keep them in such a way that they can get the interest and the exercise that they can need. We've grasped that different individual dogs suit different people, and we should bear that in mind when we choose a puppy for ourselves. We have also seen how much of a strain it is and how much a dog has to face when it joins the human community. And we know that we have to provide the leadership and the training that turns a dog into a good citizen. Now, I hope you'll think about all those things when you get yourself a puppy. And when you have, I hope it works out all right and it turns into an association as good as ours has been. Yes? Daisy.